Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway account who says, I think my wife is hiding something from me. I have resorted to spyware. 32 male me, 36 female wife. So a little bit of quick backstory. I'm sorry if this ends up being long. I'm torn on what to do and could need some advice. This is my first post on Reddit too. I've been lurking for a while though. Okay, we've been together for almost 10 years now and married for 4 years. She is pretty outgoing, talkative, and everyone loves her attitude. And she tends to get a little too flirty when she drinks. I'm more of a reserved and quiet person that doesn't like a whole lot of attention on me. Our relationship started out great. How we got to be together is a bit strange because we were so opposite, but our love was strong and sex life was incredible. After 6 years of dating and 2 kids together, I asked her to marry me. She also has an older daughter of her own that I have treated as my own. So after being married for a few years, our relationship starts to slow down, like I think most do, and we move into more of maintenance roles. We take care of our jobs, our bills, and our kids, and have very little time for us. In the beginning of our relationship, we had our rocky past, and she has gone back to 2 different exes during our breaks, but nothing that I know of for the past 6 years. So, to get to the important part, about 2 weeks ago, she went to a local concert and got pretty drunk. She meets up with some friends, and one of them happens to be a pretty strong, attractive built guy that's pretty well known in our small town for sleeping around. We'll call him Steve. Now, I normally don't suspect my wife of any sort of infidelities, and I've never snooped around on her phone or social networks. But after this concert she went to, I got an incredibly strong gut feeling that something happened that night and she's been hiding something from me. So I check her Facebook Messenger and see a conversation between her and Steve from the concert. Basically, the conversation goes like this. He says that he had a good time partying with her. She says the same and that she almost drove out to where he was to hang out more. He says sure, come on out, and that he is staying in a tent in the back of a friend's yard. So he doesn't drink and drive after the concert, I assume. She replies and says that she isn't the type of girl. Then she says that she doesn't need the homeowner's wife that he's staying at, we'll call her Sally, finding out and getting pissed. He apologizes and says he didn't mean it and it was because he was drunk. The next morning he asks if my wife will call him so he can explain some of his actions that night. Now, this strikes me as strange because the comment that my wife made about Sally getting pissed makes it sound like she'd be okay with going to his tent if Sally wouldn't get pissed about it. Not because she's married and would be cheating on me. I take pics of the conversation just in case. Am I reading too much into this and freaking out about nothing? She deleted the conversation the following day. To continue, last weekend she went on a trip to Las Vegas with a bunch of girlfriends for a bachelorette party. I don't really have any issues with her trip because most of the girls she went with are a bit prudish, and knowing my wife, she wouldn't want them to look down on her because of the actions she may take. But I do know that she did get pretty drunk the 3 days she was there, and it worries me a little just because I have zero clue what all happened while she was there. To add more to the story, the day she gets back she changes her Facebook password and turns off the auto login/remember function. My wife has never cared about her Facebook before and always left it on and logged in. And the same day she has now added a PIN code to unlock her phone. She was always the same way about her phone as she was with her computer. It's never been locked before, now it doesn't leave her side for a second. Now I have no way to check her social networks and messages to try and find out who she is contacting. Am I overreacting here at all? I find this behavior completely opposite of how I've known my wife to act. My gut feelings are through the roof and all these wild thoughts of what she might be doing are racing through my head. I can't take much more. So yesterday I confront her about it. I literally break down and sob uncontrollably in front of her and tell her that I have a bad feeling that she is talking to someone that she may be romantically involved with and has taken steps to hide the conversation from me. She tells me that I'm crazy and she isn't hiding anything. Then she tries to flip stuff back on me and say it's all in my head and I've got to let it go. I ask her about the pin lock on her phone and she says it's because she doesn't want her daughter trying to look at her Vegas pictures and see her partying. But the thing is, I've seen the pics, wife doesn't know I have, and there isn't anything in there that is so extreme a 16-year-old girl shouldn't see. I don't mention the messages with Steve I read because she would get super pissed if she knew I snooped her messages. I feel like this is the beginning of the end for us and it's scaring the absolute shit out of me. I don't want to lose her and I don't want to lose the time I get with my kids. I get to see them every day and I don't want any less time with them. So Reddit, I need some advice. Am I batshit crazy for suspecting my wife of cheating, or should I be genuinely worried that she's up to something? Let's go straight on to OP's updates to find out what happened next. So update 1 says, some may not agree with this approach, but I installed a keylogger on her laptop to see what she's been writing. And I'm hoping she logs into her Facebook account so I can snag the new password. Update 2. I write her a pretty lengthy letter, basically pouring my heart out to her and saying things like, I don't want to lose her, and I'll make changes so we can build our relationship back to how it used to be. She texts me while I'm at work and says that she isn't cheating, nor seeking, and I have to trust her about it, or it's just going to push her away. Update 3. She just logged into her Facebook on the laptop. I should know what her Facebook password is and any messages she has sent using it in the morning. Update 4. Had another long talk tonight. She said if she ever found out I was spying on her, she would immediately divorce me. So spyware is gone in the morning. She basically said that in the last 2 years, she has changed and feels like she no longer needs the support of someone else. That she is finally capable of supporting herself financially and it has given her a newfound sense of freedom. She told me again that she hasn't cheated on me or is seeking the attention of someone else. She thinks that if we can go off and do our own hobbies and things separately, that it will eventually bring us closer together. I told her I'm afraid that I'm getting left behind as she rises up into this new person she's become. She also dropped hints that she would be totally fine with living together for the sake of our kids, until they are old enough to understand some things, and that we live together for their sake, but live completely separate lives outside of their knowledge. I don't want that at all, and I don't know how to tell her without pushing her away. I'm still so confused and lost and sad as hell. Update 5. Holy plot twist. So she finally went to bed and I can check the keylogger log. Bingo. Got a Facebook password. And it looks like she stayed on and chatted with some people for a while. I can figure out who and what from the one-sided conversation, but then I run into some strange shit. She's talking to someone about caring a lot about them and imagining them buttoning up their jeans and getting attached. And what's a little attached is tangled up naked and not following the rulebook. Then she writes something about bringing them lunch tomorrow and meeting at the park and if it's okay to be out in the open. Now my wife is not a shy person about saying things, so this could be something extremely innocent that just looks really bad looking at one side. But I have a strong feeling that's not the case here. Holy fuck me Christ, is this really happening? I figured out that this is a physical therapist that she is always talking about. What do I do? I'm really afraid of bringing it up because I will have to confess to the spyware and go to definite divorce. Don't know if I'm ready for that route yet or not. I think the spyware will stay. Actually, I'm upgrading to a more robust program that will do screenshots at regular intervals so I can see the other side of the conversation. After reading the keylogger log, I log into her Facebook and the conversation she had with her physical therapist is deleted, and this convo happened just earlier today. How would you go about bringing this up to her without revealing the spyware? Edit 6. I confront her. So at 3 AM, I have become furious and I wake my wife up and I confront her about the keylogger messages to her physical therapist. I don't tell her how I found out, but that I know everything. I tell her that it doesn't matter how I found out, but I have found the truth and that's all that matters. She at first denies it, and I drop a few details and she finally acknowledges it and says that it was nothing. Just words. I'm having to whisper all this to her because one of my sons had crawled into bed during the night and I don't want to wake him. She eventually tells me that she had started pursuing him because she wasn't getting what she needed from me. I tell her that she has lied to me. Even when I told her I had a feeling she was up to something, she straight up lied to my face about not cheating. And I know this isn't physical cheating, but the messages I read were heading in that direction quickly. I threatened to take the kids and move to my parents. She has turned a complete 180 and is trying to be lovey-dovey with me now. I'm not buying into that shit. She has lied and hid things from me and has been cheating on me. I ask her how long this has been going on for. She says a week and a half. Either that's BS or they were heading to a physical level soon. I think this Friday because I read something about her asking someone about being excited for Friday. My kids could play with his. Remember, this is only her side of the convo as captured by the Keylogger, but the messages I read were way too sexual already for it to be only a week and a half. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do, but the ball is definitely in my court and I'm calling all the shots. Either this is heading to divorce and my kids suffer, which is what I do not want, or major changes are coming for us, but our relationship will never be what it once was. My plan right now is to make her call her physical therapist in front of me and tell him that it's over and she is never contacting him again. Second, she's calling her best friend and telling her the truth. I read a message between them that painted everything as my fault and I falsely accused her of cheating. A friend is a good person and deserves to know the truth about my wife. Third, I'm splitting up our joint bank account. We have quite a bit of cash saved because of we both work and make about equal pay, and I don't need anything to happen to it. My plan is to take half and open a new account to put it in, then change my direct deposit over as well. I will then make us split all the bills 50-50. Do you guys think this is a good plan so far? Should I try to stick this out and make it work for the kids' sake, or do I end it all now? I honestly can't believe I was right about my gut feeling. I was wrong on who and when, but I knew something was going on, and she lied about it all when I confronted her. And keep in mind, this is the first time something like this has ever happened with us. I've never suspected anything before, and she has never lied to me before this. So I'm torn about what to do. Thank you all for letting tell my story here. It's been therapeutic for me to some degree. I don't have any friends I feel comfortable turning to about this situation. And someone questioned OP saying, there may be a chance to save things here, to which OP replies saying, thank you kind person, I sincerely appreciate the help. I've been up by myself for the last 2 hours. My son woke up and I hung out with him until he fell back to sleep. She wanted to lay next to me and she ended up falling back asleep. I've been thinking about how I want to proceed from here, and so far I'm going to follow through with the steps in the OP to start. I really still do love her and would like to see this work out, but only if there's a major shift in the status quo of our relationship. I like the idea of a marriage counselor. I think that could help a lot. I'm not sure about demanding access to her social networks and phone. The only reason I found out what I did is because of the Keylogger. She deleted the conversation, so if it weren't for the Keylogger, I'd have nothing right now. As far as a discreet, open relationship, I'm not sure I could do that. I still love her and couldn't stand to see her daily and know she doesn't love me back anymore, or that she's involved with someone else. I'd rather distance myself from her as much as possible if we don't work out. My parents live close by, so I'd probably move back in with them temporarily. They would love to see the grandkids every day, and my mum doesn't work, so she'd be fine babysitting while I worked. This way I won't go broke if I get a divorce lawyer. And now I'm going to turn this one straight to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from PresentAd3934, who says, am I the arsehole for kicking a server out of my wedding? I, 25 female, and my husband, 30 male, got married last Friday. We planned our dream wedding down to our dream catering company. The wedding was beautiful. After the pictures, we headed to our cocktail hour, and that's when I saw her. My guests were all told to wear dark colors, so my husband and I stood out. I also asked my guests to wear minimal makeup. I'd assumed that applied to the staff too. The server, 19-ish female, had on clearly too much eyeliner. She also had diamond studs in her ears, a flashy ring, and one of those ugly nose studs. The staff's uniform was a black long sleeve shirt, but on her it was too low cut and her pants were far too tight. It was super distracting. She was walking around serving drinks and talking to my guests. I asked another member of staff to speak to their boss. When their boss came out, I pointed out the server and asked that she be dealt with because she was super distracting. Their boss apologized and called the server back into the kitchen. Not even an hour later, the server was back out serving food for dinner. I called the boss over again and asked if the server could work in the back or go home. Her boss said they were short-staffed tonight, so she would see what can be done. After a couple of hours of not seeing her, I saw the server again behind the bar. I called the boss out one last time and told her if the server didn't leave, I'd be calling the cops. The boss finally relented and told the girl to go home. My husband and mother-in-law said I was acting crazy and that I probably got a poor college kid fired over nothing. My mother and maid of honor said it's my wedding so I can do as I please. It's my wedding and I don't want someone overshining me, and the server should know she's at work and not dress up so much. I do feel kinda bad because she was pretty young. Am I the ass? Now, I'm really hoping this is rage bait, but I'll go that it isn't. Can you imagine your wedding day? You're so obsessed with what everyone else is wearing. You know, there's a few things like people not wearing white and all that sort of stuff. But be it telling all the guests you have to wear dark colors so the bride and groom stand out. Also ask your guests to wear minimal makeup, and you assume that applied to the staff too. And obviously I'm not finding it funny that someone got sent home because of this, because that's absolutely awful. But the attitude in this is just mind-blowing. And when you saw her turn up a third time, you said, if the server didn't leave, I'd be calling the cops. Can you imagine that phone call? Hello? Hello? Can you come remove this person from my wedding? Yes, they're a server here. They've got diamond studs, a flashy ring, and one of those ugly nose studs. And her uniform is far too tight, and she's just wandering around serving people and talking to my guests. How dare she? Come and arrest her right now. And of course, your mum's gonna back you up in this situation. But Mrs. Jamie Fast says, you're the arsehole. Too bad you didn't get to enjoy your wedding reception because you couldn't stop obsessing over a college-age server. The things that you objected to in the server could have been fixed. She could have removed her jewelry. The boss could have given her a shirt that covered her better. But you didn't want it fixed. You chose to complain about her and not the offending items. This was entirely your choice to not enjoy yourself. The State Landing gives us a little story of their own similar, who says, my first job out of college was in event sales for a wedding venue. But I was good friends with planners, so I always hung around and helped out at weddings. My favorite was this bride that wanted an oyster boat at her wedding. Just the name for a plating of oysters that was in a boat-shaped plate / ice tray type thing. We only had one size, but guests could order as many oysters as they wanted. She ordered a less than usual number, so they warned her it will not fill up the entire display. She said fine. They asked again to be sure. She said fine again. Day of the wedding. Where the fuck is the rest of my oysters? Glitter Voldemort says, and quotes, my mother and maid of honor said it's my wedding so I can do as I please, then says, my wedding, my rules applies to things like cake, flavors, and decorations. It doesn't apply to terrorizing a catering company and its employees. And the guests by the sound of it. And then quotes again saying, I don't want someone overshining me. Then says, the only thing that outshined you was your insecurity. You were so obsessed with how a complete stranger doing her job looked that you threatened to call the police to have her removed from her job. You're the arsehole and you should really unpack all this with a therapist, not Reddit. Sushi Stereo says you're the arsehole. You ruined your own night by being jealous and judgmental of someone who likely had zero intention of drawing any attention to herself. I can't tell if you were bitter because you felt she was pretty or because it sounds like she had a more alternative look with the way you pointed out that she had. And then quotes again saying one of those ugly nose studs, and then says, and instantly decided you didn't like her based on her choice in facial piercings. Or both. My wordy. Haven't seen one like that in a while. But what do you guys make of this situation? What would you say to that story? I'm worried about your comments. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, support, and time is always absolutely amazing. So thank you so much. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. let's go. See the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Drink some water, brush my teeth, get out of bed and I stretch. Bet in my hair is a mess. Look through my clothes for a fit. Anything I do is drip.